London, 1300. On London Bridge, no one knows this is an ordinary day with a deadline. Within years, fire will race through timber and tar, and a crowd will turn into a trap. But right now, shop shutters rattle open above the Thames, tallow smoke, wet wool, and river mud cling to your throat. Bells carry from the chapel of St. Thomas. Coins clink. Carts groan. Footsteps press shoulder to shoulder. A hand brushes your belt. Another offers bread warm for a farthing. You're standing on a street that floats. People call it London Bridge, but it's not a crossing. It's a neighborhood balanced on stone piers. 2 rows of timber houses sit on top of the archway like teeth. Shop signs hang out over the water. A baker, a bowyer, a seller of candles. A room above them, where someone is boiling pottage before sunrise. Contemporaries describe the bridge as built up with homes and businesses, and the museum today compares it to a street. That's the trick. You arrive thinking you'll be over the Thames in a minute. Instead, you're inside a corridor of wood, smoke, and money, with a chapel in the middle and a gatehouse at the far end. Above you, laundry lines sag. Below you, the Thames slaps the starlings of the piles. The road is barely wide enough for 2 carts to argue. Pedestrians flatten into doorways. Someone pays a porter to drag a barrel through. Someone pays a boy to watch a purse. Everyone pays. Somehow. Today. Today we're not crossing. We're living on it. All day. 7 stops. Morning to night. We'll follow the traffic, the trade, the rules, and the quiet threats that live in the background, fire in the beams, thieves in the crush, sickness in the air. Keep close. Don't drift to the edge. Stop 1. Dawn above the river. Stop 1. Dawn above the Thames. You wake in a room that never fully dries. The river breathes through the floorboards. Cold damp climbs the bed frame and sits in your lungs. Outside the shuttered window, the tide pulls at the bridge's wooden piles with a slow, impatient slap. The air tastes of river mud, smoke, and last night's ale. Below, fish guts hit a bucket. Someone coughs, trying to shake water out of their chest. A candle stub gutters in the draft. These houses are pressed so tight they share warmth and danger. Timber frames, wattle and plaster. Tarred seams, a dozen chimneys rising into the same narrow strip of sky. On the street below, someone drags a bucket from a tub, washing yesterday's blood off a butcher's block. Up here, you hear more than you see. Footsteps overhead. A baby crying through a wall. The scrape of a knife on a whetstone. And under it all, the bridge itself, creaking like a ship. Not everyone on London Bridge wakes like this. The poorest sleep in rented corners, over stalls, under stairs, close to the draft and the stink. Traders and craftsmen keep a room above their own shop, safer, drier, but still narrow. Better-off families take the upper floors, farther from the mud and the crush, closer to air that almost feels clean. Downstairs, the shop fronts face the roadway. That's where the money moves. Above, the living clings to it, every board, every beam. Every leaning stair remembers that you are not on land. A woman blows on coals in a small hearth. A spark jumps. It dies. For now, in a place built of dry wood and open flame, for now is a fragile promise. Listen, the bridge is waking. Time to step out into the crowded morning. Stop, too. Morning. The street on the bridge fills fast. Shutters swing out. A jeweler lays bright rings on a scrap of cloth, the metal catching the thin sun. Next door, bolts of dyed wool hang like flags, brushing your shoulder as you squeeze past. Somewhere a cask is rolled, iron hoops ringing, and the smell of wine leaks into the air before the bung is even tapped. You're not strolling, you're being carried. London's main road has to cross here, north to south, city to Southwark, barrels of ale from upriver, sacks of grain, sheep bleating, pressed between legs, a man with a handcart of charcoal. Every load wants the same narrow strip of planks. Merchants, messengers, pilgrims, drovers, everyone funneling into the same wooden canyon. A cart tries to push through. A pack horse refuses. Two men shout over each other, then over you. Hawkers sing their prices. Hammers strike, coins click, a dog fights over a fish head. Steam rises from a pot of pottage and mixes with horse sweat and tallow smoke until the whole bridge tastes greasy. And this is the strange part. Luxury is displayed inches from disaster. A silver cup sits in an open window while the floor under it flexes with every passing wheel. A length of imported cloth is pinned up where one spark from a candle could take the whole row. A child leans over the edge to watch the Thames, and a woman yanks him back by the hood without looking away from her customer. In the crush, you feel hands that aren't yours, a brush at your belt, a tug at your sleeve. You keep moving because stopping turns you into a post, and posts get climbed over. Ahead, the bridge narrows again. The noise thickens. The air thins. Time to move. Stop 3, midday, where the bridge stops feeling like a market and starts feeling like a system. Stop 3, midday. The bridge stops feeling like a market and starts feeling like an institution. You notice the paperwork, a clerk in a doorway, ink-stained fingers, a wax seal cooling on a strip of parchment. A man argues over a fee. A porter waits, sweating, while a barrel is measured with a practiced eye. This place is not free. It can't be. The stone piers need repairs. The roadway needs planks. The chapel needs candles. The gatehouse needs men. First, the bridge is managed as property. The city appoints wardens and officers to collect rents from the shops and rooms stacked above you. Every doorway is money. Every window that faces the road is a claim. Second, movement is controlled. Carts can be stopped. Loads can be inspected. In a pinch. The gates close and the bridge becomes a wall between London and Southwark. That's power, and it has a price. Third, even the buildings have rules. How far a stall may lean out, where a sign may hang, which hearths must be watched. The street is narrow, so every inch is negotiated wood against wood, neighbor against neighbor. And if a fire starts, the rules are too slow, the buckets too few, the river too far below to help you. So why allow houses to choke the crossing? Because the bridge pays for itself, because merchants will pay for the foot traffic, because London has more people than space and the river won't move, won't. The crowd doesn't think about any of this. It just flows. But the system is there, counting, measuring, deciding who gets through. Time to move. Stop 4. Afternoon, where the crush becomes cover for crime. Stop 4. Afternoon. The bridge is loud enough to hide anything. A hawker laughs too hard. A man bumps you, apologizes, and keeps moving. The contact feels normal. The loss won't. Not until your hand finds empty leather where a purse string should be. Cut purses work with small blades and smaller patience. They don't fight you. They harvest you. Look down the line of stalls. A seller offers holy pins from the chapel, cheap tin made to look like silver. A boy pushes through with a basket of apples, eyes fixed on belts, not fruit. 2 women argue over cloth, and while you watch their hands, a third hand reaches under yours. The bridge is a funnel. Every traveler has to pass through, north and south, city and suburb, pilgrim and porter. That makes it a ledger of wallets. And when the crowd stops, crime gets easier. People press in, tempers flare, and a shout becomes a distraction. Then the city answers, not gently. Near the approaches you can see the warnings, the stocks, the pillory, a whipping post darkened by old use. Offenders are displayed where the traffic is thickest, so everyone learns without a sermon. A woman with her wrists trapped in wood takes curses and rotten scraps. A man with a bleeding ear is marched past, head down, while children run alongside to stare. Above the roadway, the gatehouse watches, ironwork, a hard geometry of nails and beams. Sometimes it carries trophies from the king's justice, proof that power reaches even here. You don't need to see one today to feel the shape of it in the air. Keep your hand on your purse. Keep your shoulder to the wall. Once you're swallowed, the bridge keeps moving anyway. Because the crowd that feeds London Bridge can also swallow you. Stop 5. Dusk. The light changes, and the bridge becomes a tinderbox with a heartbeat. Day traders pack up. Night traders set out. A cook lifts a pot from an open hearth and stirs, blowing on coals until they glow. Tallow candles are pinched to life inside shop windows. Oil lamps hiss as they take the flame. Smoke thickens under the low roofs and hangs in the lane like cloth. Every house here is timber. Every wall is dry. Tar seals seams against rain. Straw and kindling sit under stairs. And the street between the buildings is so tight that heat has nowhere to go but sideways into your neighbor's beams. People live with fire because they have to. Bread doesn't bake itself. Ale doesn't boil itself. You need light to count coins and mend leather and lock the shutters before dark. So they keep buckets. They keep hooks to pull burning wood away. They tell children not to play near the hearth. They say a prayer to St. Thomas and trust that God likes this row of houses today. But you know how fragile this is. Even writers after the bridge's completion recorded fires here, whole stretches of the built-up street burning because one spark found the right draft. On a bridge, wind is always looking for something to carry. Listen to the sounds at dusk. A bell in the chapel. A cartwheel striking a board too hard. A door slammed. A gust coming up from the Thames. A single ember lifting, turning bright, then vanishing into the narrow air above your head. No one stops walking when they smell smoke. Smoke is normal. They step around it like mud. And that's the danger, not the blaze, the routine. Somewhere a watchman calls the hour. Somewhere drunk stumbles, lantern swinging like a pendulum. Time to move. Stop 6. Night. When the gates close and the bridge becomes a room. Stop 6. Night. A horn sounds from the gatehouse, and the bridge begins to shut its mouth. Iron chains clink. A wooden bar drops into place. Torches flare, throwing red light across wet planks and doorways. A bell from St. Thomas answers, distant, indifferent overhead. If you're still on the bridge, you're staying on the bridge. Late travelers argue with the watch. A porter with a bundle begs to be let through. Someone laughs, too loudly, pretending they're not afraid. The city on either side is close enough to smell, but now it's cut off like land seen from a boat. Shops fold inward, shutters slam, bolts slide. Candlelight disappears behind oiled cloth. The street narrows as people step away from the middle and press to the walls. Listening. Footsteps change. Voices drop. A cough becomes loud. The Thames below is black, and the wind coming up through the gaps feels like a hand on your spine. In daylight, the crowd protected you by being too busy to notice. At night, the crowd thins, and noticing is all that's left. A shadow detaches from a doorway. A knife flashes once, quick as a fish. No one calls it an emergency. They call it a problem. They call it bad luck. They call it tomorrow. Above you, timber, tar, dry straw. Below you, water you can't reach. The bridge is a corridor with no side streets, and the gates are locked. How do we know any of this isn't just atmosphere? Because Old London Bridge left paperwork, pictures, and complaints. The Museum of London describes the bridge as more than a crossing built up like a street, lined with houses and businesses. That matches what you see in medieval drawings, a tight corridor of roofs over the river, not open stone. Encyclopedia Britannica notes the same basic fact: shops and homes were built on the bridge, and fires were recorded there after the bridge was finished. That matters, because it tells you the danger isn't invented. Timber buildings, open hearths, wind off the Thames. Those are ingredients historians keep finding in the sources. Add the city's own records rents collected from bridge properties, repairs ordered after damage, rules about structures and traffic. These aren't legends. They're accounting. So when you smell smoke and feel the crowd press in, you're not imagining it. You're stepping into a documented place. Even the Bridges Chapel of St. Thomas and its gatehouses appear in descriptions. Anchoring where people walked, prayed, paid, and got searched. That's our map. London, 1300. It was an ordinary day on London Bridge. That's the lie the bridge tells every morning. The shutters opened, the coins changed hands, bread warmed on a hearth, a jeweler held silver up to the light, a cut purse disappeared into the press. Smoke drifted, familiar as fog. The Thames kept pulling at the piles below, patient, unstoppable. Nothing happened today, not the kind of thing that gets written down. And that's the point. This place doesn't wait for a disaster to become dangerous. It's dangerous by design: wood stacked on stone, fire carried room to room, a road so narrow it turns crowds into walls. Somewhere, a watchman calls the hour. A candle is pinched out. A gate is barred. Someone lies down above the river and trusts tomorrow. The chapel of St. Thomas is dark now. Tarred beams cool. Buckets sit ready, hooks hang unused. The bridge breathes, waiting quietly. From here, history feels like fate only after it arrives. Next time, a day in London. Tuxtantis tris shimtai keturias decimtas tuoni.